let's talk about some national issues. The Supreme Court this week ruled several rulings that came down. This was the first set of rulings that contained writing and votes from Justice Neil Gorsuch. What do you think, first of those rulings? Has he made a difference on the High Court, and is it good or is it bad?
I mean, he filled the spot of Justice Scalia. I'm not surprised at all by Neil Gorsuch. He ran as a super right-wing conservative, as that was part of his bid to become a Supreme Court justice, and that's what he is. And we talked about that on the show. I said that on the show. That is what he's going to be. He is a right-wing justice, and he is, in fact, I think probably more extreme than Justice Scalia in some ways. And so you saw the rulings on marriage equality and a couple others, the adoption case with marriage equality specifically, and his dissent was horrifying. And so I think you're going to continue to see that as cases move forward, and that was what we were warning against during the entire election season and in the work we do on the courts. It is troubling to me that now we're talking about having another seat open up on the courts. That's where the balance hangs. And so, you know, if another seat opens up and we fill it with an extremist, we're in real trouble in this country.
You're talking about Justice Kennedy's
Yes.
seat, who's known as a swing vote,
Yep.
especially on the issues that like marriage equality.
Yeah.
Alan, what do you think? Were you happy with how these rulings came down?
See, and I don't refer to Justice Gorsuch as a right-wing guy. He is conservative, but he is a constitutionalist. And this is who we want in there, people who are going to abide by the Constitution, not by how they would like to reinterpret. A lot of justices, a lot in this country. Matter of fact, all the justices who held up the so-called travel ban were people who were trying to legislate from the bench. Thinking that if we hold it up, it's because what we know what was in his mind, Trump's mind. I don't care what was in Trump's mind. What's in the Constitution? And these people ignored the Constitution. The Supreme Court recognized that, and they said, let's go ahead with that.
But aren't you putting yourself in their mind when you say that? You're saying they departed from the faithful interpretation of the Constitution.
They said that. No, they said that, not me. They said themselves. I know what he meant when he was running, they said. And what he meant when he was running, he was anti-Muslim and he's going to keep all the, he's going to against the religion. This is what they were saying. So they were verbalizing the fact that they were putting themselves in his mind, and they were making a decision based on his mind, his thoughts, not on the Constitution.
But you don't think an honest judge could look at the travel ban and look at the Constitution and say this is not permissible?
When you look back to the law that was passed in 1952 that reaffirmed a president's right to be able to keep groups out, whole groups, religious groups, any ethnic groups, whatever, based upon a concern of fear of those groups doing harm. It was passed in 52, reaffirmed a president's right. That went before the Supreme Court in 1954, was upheld by the Supreme Court as being constitutional. So, no, I think absolutely when you have I'm not surprised by the decision that came down now, the partial decision. In the fall, when you have all the oral arguments, they're going to overturn the whole damn thing. All of it's going to be overturned. And when they go to this idea of whether or not a baker has to bake a cake for somebody that, you know, he doesn't feel that it's in his moral area to do, they're going to fine for the baker too. They're going to absolutely fine for the baker. Unless you want to go ahead and say to a gay baker that you have to make a cake that says, I hate gays. And use the epithets and stuff like that. Well, hey, you're a public business and you're doing business, so you have to do whatever people want to do. No, you don't have to do whatever people want to do.
Are there a lot of anti-gay cakes?
I haven't seen a whole lot of those, but I guess we'll have to see when this court case comes down. You know, I think that case in particular is a really important case because it's going to set a tone going forward of, you know, how discrimination in this country is going to move forward. And I don't know what you think about this at right now, but I just have a really hard time with businesses being able to discriminate based on somebody's sexual orientation. I think it's wrong. And so, you know, if you look at the Constitution and if you want to be a strict constitutionalist, and in the Constitution there are lines in there that you are not able to discriminate solely based on your religion. And so I have a really hard time in that case, and I hope they make the right decision on that.
That is not in the Constitution about not discriminating based on religion. What's in the Constitution is that the right, it's defended and upheld the right to practice your religion. And religions that are thousands of years old, whether it's any Christian religions or Jewish religions, versus a law that's a couple of years old, and you pit one against the other, you're going to have to say, I'm sorry, this law infringes upon a person's religious freedom. Would you say to someone who happens to be a great baker, I mean, and he happens to be a black man, but he's a great baker, would you say that if two people came in, they said, we're having a wedding, we happen to be in the Klan, and we want you to have two hoods on a cake to honor our wedding. Nothing, no words or anything like that, just like that. But we want you to do that. You have to bake that. Should that black baker, a great baker, have to bake that cake for those people like that? The answer is 100% no.
What do you think? Should that?
It's a great point, but at the same time, in my mind, that is hate speech, which is a very different thing than baking a cake for two people who just want to get married.
Hate speech is no. Having two cones, two hoods with no words, I said, that's not hate speech. Hoods aren't hate speech.
They're hate speech.
Well,
they imply that they're a part of the Klan.
That's your interpretation. But here's the guy. But here we're saying we're two people who are in love, and we want to get married, and we happen to be part of the Klan because we're a big brotherhood, and here's what we want to do, and it's just love. No words on it whatsoever. Maybe I can have words on it. We love, whatever the case is. Let's do something very, very nice and flowery. But you're going to force them to do that. The same thing with asking a Jewish baker to bake a cake that has some kind of symbolism on it that they don't, a swastika or something like that. No words.
I just don't compare being gay to swastikas. Like, those two things in my mind are totally different things.
What I compare, though, is the right of someone to say that this goes against my moral beliefs. It goes against my moral beliefs, whether I'm Jewish or black or whether I'm a Christian, and you want me to say that. What if someone comes to a baker, a Christian baker, and they say, hi, I'm an atheist. And I'm an atheist. You know a bunch of atheists, I'm sure. Okay, and they want the cake, a big party celebration. The only thing they want to put on the cake is I renounce God. I hate God. That's all. They're not saying anybody should die or beat anybody up.
I just think it's totally a different thing than baking somebody's wedding cake.
But what do you do, though? You have a religious person say, bake a cake that says, hooray for atheism, there is no God. Okay, I hate God. Hooray for atheism, there is no God. Nothing hateful about that. Nothing hateful. But we'd like you to bake the cake. You're going to force a Christian or a Jew who's religious to bake a cake that says, hooray for atheism, I don't believe in God. A Jew or a Christian, a true Christian, would never be able to print those words, I don't believe in God. They wouldn't be able to do it. They shouldn't be forced to do it. And forcing them to do it is violating their religious rights. And that goes against our Constitution.